Google plans to turn search into an AI super agent, and the internet may never look the same. Hey Carnies, and welcome back to the Daily Carnage Show. I'm Shannon, I'm a digital marketing strategist at Carney, and I'm your host. And I'm excited to share that today's episode is sponsored by Trendos. So OpenAI just started weaving sponsored ads directly into ChatGPT answers, and traditional ad tools can't see them, but Trendos Ad Radar can. You can instantly track your AI search visibility, spot competitor spend, and see exactly who is buying your keywords. So don't be left in the dark. Go to trendos.com and try ChatGPT Ad Radar for free right now. So at the annual I/O conference last week, Google unveiled what might be the most radical transformation of Google search that we've seen in 25 years. For more than 2 decades, Google search has operated on a simple trade. That is, websites create information, Google helps users find it, and everyone benefits from the traffic. Publishers get readers, businesses get customers, and Google gets ads. And that model built one of the most profitable companies in history. And everything was working really well until enter AI. But before we discuss the present state of search, I think we should throw it back. You know how we love to throw it back here. So back in the late 1990s, search engines were kind of terrible. You typed in a question, you got a wall of blue links, and you just hoped for the best. This is incidentally the era where I made my first Google search at the age of 5. We had a family computer in the kitchen, as a lot of people did, so I waited until my mom left the room and I asked Google, what are the lyrics to It Wasn't Me by Shaggy? Soon after, Google showed up with a radically better ranking system, and it gradually and quietly became the front door to the internet. But along the way, every major update to search has really reflected a bigger shift in culture and technology and human behavior. And that's where we're at right now. I think the first huge turning point came in 2001 with Google Images. And believe it or not, the catalyst may have been Jennifer Lopez's green Versace dress that she wore to the Grammys. People searched for that image so aggressively that Google realized text links alone weren't going to be enough. So that single pop culture moment helped give us image search. And then later on came Did You Mean? Which seems small now, but at the time it was really magical. Google began correcting human mistakes in language before we even finished thinking. And that became the foundation for predictive computing and eventually AI-assisted search. And around the same era, Google News launches after 9/11 in a time where people desperately needed real-time information, and traditional search just wasn't built for these rapidly changing events. By 2004, we get autocomplete. So instead of carefully planning your queries, users started just thinking out loud. Google says autocomplete now saves more than 200 years of typing every day. And then Google moved on from organizing the web to organizing the physical world. We get Google Local, Maps integration, reviews, directions. This is around the time we learned to Google pizza near me. And businesses that used to rely on the yellow pages now had to learn SEO quickly. So at this time, search really reshapes commerce. Then we have Google Translate beginning to expand access across languages. And then in 2019 came BERT, which is one of the biggest breakthroughs in search history. Now, instead of matching keywords, Google started understanding context and intent, which means it can interpret meaning more like a human would. In 2012, the knowledge graph begins connecting people, places, and concepts into relationships instead of just isolated pages. So really, this is the moment where search stopped being find me websites and really became give me answers. Then came visual search. You have search by image evolving into Google Lens, which now processes billions of visual searches every month. It's now quicker to just point your camera at something instead of describing it to Google with words. Google search gradually became less reactive and more predictive. Discover feeds content before you search. Popular Times predicts crowds. Flood forecasting predicts disasters. Shopping graph predicts buying intent. So the platform increasingly tries to anticipate needs instead of just waiting for queries. And that, of course, brings us to the biggest transition yet. AI native search. Instead of those 10 blue links, users now get synthesized answers and conversational follow-ups, plus multimodal search using text, voice, photos, and videos all together. So search has become less like a library catalog and more like an operating system for decision making. But as you know, for decades, the internet economy has depended on clicks. And now these AI summaries are threatening to remove the click entirely. We've seen SEO shift from rank the highest to be the trusted source that AI cites. But over the last 25 years, every update to search has made it feel more invisible. We went from manually hunting information to expecting the answer instantly, contextually even. In fact, we increasingly want the answer before we even ask. But that transition has really disrupted the economics of the web itself. And that tension has been building quietly among think pieces for months. But this last week at I/O, Google just stopped pretending otherwise. Google introduced sweeping updates centered around Gemini, which is its flagship AI model, and that involves embedding it directly into search in ways that dramatically reduce the need to visit other websites at all. Executives are describing this future search box as less of a search engine and more as a universal assistant. It can build your vacation itinerary, it can compare products and filter options and even purchase items for you. Of course, it generates topic summaries instantly. Google is betting that users are no longer interested in those 10 blue links. They want outcomes. And so Google doesn't really want to send you somewhere anymore. They want to be the somewhere. They want to be the everywhere. And from a product perspective, it's really easy to understand why that would be. AI-generated answers are faster, cleaner, more conversational, more personalized. It's true that you no longer have to sift through spammy SEO pages. The idea is that you just ask, it responds, and you're done. The problem with this, well, I should say one of the problems with this, is that the modern web was built on the assumption that people are going to click. Every publisher, blogger, independent creator, news outlet, affiliate marketer survives because of traffic. If AI absorbs the interaction layer, websites become invisible infrastructure, simply just powering answers that they no longer control. Google insists that this will still drive traffic to high quality sources, but we've all heard that before. And this anxiety really isn't theoretical anymore. Multiple media companies are already reporting significant drops in referral traffic from AI-generated summaries. This really threatens the logic of why content gets produced at all. You know, why spend thousands producing original reporting if AI just summarizes it instantly without sending readers back? And why should we be optimizing for Google search when Google itself is becoming the destination? So Google is in a sort of paradox. And this is all to say nothing about how this is already affecting people's media literacy and ability to research and vet sources. It's not as if idealistically, people are using AI simply as a tool to locate resources that they then thoroughly investigate themselves. On a large scale, that's just not happening. People are willing and eager to let AI do the thinking for them. It's starting to sound like a lose-lose situation, I know. Google depends on the open web to train its AI systems and keep this information fresh. But the more effective that AI becomes, the more it risks suffocating that ecosystem, the one that it needs to produce that information in the first place. And there's another layer here that pertains to us, and this is, of course, advertising. Search ads have been historically one of the cleanest businesses in tech. Someone searches for running shoes, advertisers bid for placements, users click links, and money flows. But AI assistants are complicating that dramatically. If the AI simply recommends a product directly, who gets placement? How is it disclosed? What happens to sponsored results? What does ranking even mean in a conversational interface? And Google hasn't fully answered those questions for us yet, which is notable because advertising is still the engine underneath everything that this company does. But strategically, you could argue that Google has very little choice in this matter. OpenAI forced the industry into acceleration mode. ChatGPT changed users' expectations almost overnight. Suddenly, millions of people realized that they could interact with information conversationally instead of through keyword searches. It fundamentally changed how people search, and Google had nothing to do with that. In fact, when this happened, Google's dominance started to look pretty vulnerable for the first time in years. And internally, Google reportedly treated the rise of Gen AI as an existential threat. So now Google is moving aggressively to ensure that the future of AI flows through Google infrastructure. And that means Gemini is going to be everywhere. AI in search, in Android, in Chrome, in Workspace, AI shopping agents, AI productivity tools, AI generated media. The strategy is pretty clear. If the interface layer of computing is changing, Google intends to own that next interface too. But I think unlike all of the previous platform transitions that we discussed, this one may fundamentally reshape the economics of the internet itself. The web has always depended on visibility. AI depends on invisibility. The smoother this AI experience becomes, the less users think about where that information is coming from. Sources are blurring together into these synthesized outputs, and attribution doesn't matter. Convenience matters. This creates an enormous power concentration. Whoever controls the assistant controls discovery and recommendations and commerce and attention. You could argue that what this amounts to is controlling reality. Oh, I'm spooking myself out. And that's why this moment feels bigger than just another product launch. It's a structural change in how humans interact with information. And I'm not going to name for you all the myriad implications that would have on us because I don't want to. I can't handle it. The funny thing is, even though publishers and advertisers are terrified about this news, users may love it. Most people don't care about preserving the old internet economy. They care about speed and simplicity and convenience. No friction. That's all it takes for adoption. So after this polished presentation at I/O, what many of us are wondering is if AI agents become the primary interface to knowledge, what happens to the humans and businesses that knowledge originally came from? What does it mean for the internet to quietly transition from an open ecosystem of destinations into a closed ecosystem of gate-kept answers? Are we speeding toward a future where people stop visiting the web directly? If that behavior ends, will we ever be able to rebuild it? I don't know. Tune in next week to find out. But for real, hit us up on our Daily Carnage subreddit and let us know if you have already been experiencing traffic decline, how you and your team are responding, and what are some of your professional and personal reactions to this news. I feel like it's a really good time for a team check-in. So yeah, let's keep the conversation going. And that wraps it up this week for the Daily Carnage show. Thanks so much for joining me. Make sure to like and subscribe across all our socials. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Carnage newsletter. We send an email every day of the work week to keep you the sharpest marketer in the room. Have a good one, Carnies, and I'll see you in the inbox.